Ladies and gentlemen, President William Ruto is in serious political trouble.
Sasa pale mlimani nimemkalia ngumu, analia kama panya imeshikwa na mtego, si ndio? Juzi amekuja hapo mlimani, amekuta mwenye boma, si ndio? Kuna boma haina mzee, si hapa Ukambani iko mzee wa boma? Mzee ya boma ni nani? Mzee ya hii boma ni nani? Si lazima apewe heshima? Sasa pale kwetu Kasongo hawezi ongea na mtu bila kulipa. Sisi ni wafanyabiashara. Kasongo tulimalizana na yeye, ikabaki biashara. Tukasema ukitaka kuongea na sisi uchote. Na pale tumeharibika. Hatuchukua pesa kidogo. Kasongo kwenda mkutano yake ni 3,000. Kupiga makofi 2,000. Kumuonesha meno kucheka 2,000. Sasa amekuja mazishi. Hawezi yenda mazishi bila kulipa watu. Ametoa milioni 15. Amepatia wabunge, leteni watu wanishangilie na wapigie Rigathi kelele. So mimi na nyamaza tu. Nikaambiwa na watu yangu, Kasongo analipa watu kuja atiwakupigie kelele. Nikauliza, hii watu wanakuja ni watu ya wapi? Nikaambiwa wanatoka Kinangop. Wapi ingine? Pahali inaitwa Daragwa. Na wapi ingine? Pahali inaitwa Kipipiri. Nikaambia watu yangu, then hakuna shida. Kama ni hao wanakuja, wacha tukutane na Kasongo kwa kiwa. Saa ile nimeitwa. Ile watu ya Kasongo yote wamesimama nasema mtoto wetu, mtoto wetu, mtoto wetu. Kasongo wako pale ameanza kuitisha maji. Chupa 10 na ngapi? Amekunywa chupa 10 na ngapi? Nimemwangalia kwa macho.
The president was humiliated and embarrassed in Nyandarua just the other day. And yesterday, the united opposition stormed Ukambani in style.
Nataka ujue from Masinga, wa Kenya wameungana wote kusema wewe ni one term. Wangapi wanasema jamani one term? Wangapi wanasema ni one term?
And because President Ruto called them lazy, yesterday they proved a point. They combed the region until in the night.
Ya mwisho tuko na operation inaitwa Fagia ya kufukuza wasaliti ya jamii ya Wakamba na watu ya Mlima Kenya. Nikisema harambe mnasema Fagia. Harambe! Wasaliti wote. UDA, Wirubaro, Kavanoko, Kawaya, Takataka, Kasia, Sapurano, na Kasongo, na Kasongo, na Kasongo. Wangapi anasema tufagie Kasongo, tufagie Kasongo?
In this video, I want us to talk about the united opposition rally in Ukambani yesterday. Before we do that, in case you are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Ladies and gentlemen, Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, and the team are expected in Kikuyu constituency today. That is Kimani Ichung'wah's constituency. And you remember during the Olkalao burial, Rigathi Gachagua challenged the president to ask Kimani Ichung'wah to stop his goons from attacking them. As we speak, the area is already no-go zone. Running battles everywhere. We are monitoring the events as they unfold in Kikuyu because how that event is going to turn out is significant, politically speaking. But let us not talk about that for now. For now, let us talk about the events which we witnessed yesterday. First of all, let us look at the reception. How were the united opposition received? For me, it was massive. It was a major political score for Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. Because if Steve Kalonzo Musyoka wants to become the president of the Republic of Kenya, he must first of all consolidate the Kamba votes. As a matter of fact, nobody doubts Kalonzo Musyoka's ability to deliver Kamba votes. And yesterday, they did that very well. And number two, the branding. The event was well branded. anybody attending that event or even watching it from TV could clearly tell that the event was purely a Wiper political rally. If you compared it to Fred Matiang'i's event in Kisii, the Kisii event was very good. But the truth is, you could not really see the branding. You could not tell whether it was a UDA. You could not really tell whether it was a Wiper, whether it was Jubilee, or something like that. So Fred Matiang'i needed, in my view, to brand that as a Jubilee. Kalonzo succeeded in that. And what about the messaging? Their messaging, for me, is what they need to start working on. Because they can't wait for things to happen, then they make it an agenda. The unfortunate event on Sosi, which happened here in Kisumu, became their agenda, which meant if that unfortunate event probably had not taken place, they might not have had an agenda, because Kenyans want to hear from them what they're going to do on specific issues. So when it's about education, when it's about the overborrowing, how are they going to solve them? But in general, the event was successful. But what are some of the objectives? For me, but why is William Ruto worried about this event? Number one, the unity of the opposition. Most Kenyans believe that it's going to be very difficult for the opposition to settle on one candidate. And remember, we have the united opposition, and then we also have the Linda Wananchi. In the united opposition, it is now clear that the contest is only between two people, Fred Matiang'i and Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. And the fact that for the first time, or is it the second time, or is it the third time, now we are seeing Rigathi Gachagua and Fred Matiang'i working together, it confirms that indeed these guys, they have that ability. They can actually unite. And if they were to unite, tell me how William Ruto can defeat a united opposition with the rage most Kenyans have against the government today. So that is something which is worrying William Ruto, the unity of these guys. Number two, you see, William Ruto was really embarrassed in Nyandarua. And the mountain were really happy. Again, these guys goes to Kambani, and the reception is the same. So which means they are now gaining the momentum for 2027. And this is very dangerous for William Ruto, because it has reached a point where these guys only needs the momentum and sustain it. Although it's still very early, but we are in April, for heaven's sake. Just a few months to next year. In fact, by August, this country is going to turn into election mode. So I think the fact that these guys are gaining momentum, and you go the other side, Linda Ground is also gaining momentum, it means they can rally the country against the broad-based government. And that is exactly what is worrying William Ruto, because William Ruto will now have to go extra mile, for example, to fix A, B, C, D, to consolidate the broad-based, because after the death of Raila Amolo Odinga, you know, William Ruto has been facing serious political headache, especially as far as ODM politics is concerned, because Ruto was banking on the support of ODM party. But these guys are now gaining the momentum. And number three, there's something which is called timing. Do we now conclude that the timing is now favoring these guys? Because when they began, it was slow motion. The only challenge for them is picking the presidential candidate. Because I remember Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka at one point made it very clear that they must pick a presidential candidate in the first quarter of this year. We are in the first quarter. And I don't see any signs of the united opposition picking a presidential candidate. Because I remember at that time, Rigathi Gachagua was very clear that they'll pick the presidential candidate towards the tail end. And Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka's allies were not comfortable with that. They were like, if it's Kalonzo, they needed to know early enough so that if it's not Kalonzo, they can also work on their plan B. But I think the timing is very good for them right now because, you know, William Ruto's government has the next financial year, which will be from June. Then after that, they'll be locked. So it means if there are things they have not done now, they will not be able to do. And importantly, Ruto is worried about the game of numbers. If you see Kalonzo, you see Rigathi, you see Matiang'i, these guys can effectively lock Gusii, Ukambani, and the mountain. These guys can then go further and lock Nairobi. A combination of Kalonzo, Rigathi, and Matiang'i, those three tribes voting together in Nairobi is lethal. Those are facts you can't run away from. And now you add to the Sifuna wave, which is sweeping the Luhya nation. So which means they might actually lock Ruto also out of the Luhya nation. Which begs the question now for Ruto, where will he get the votes? Of course, there's the tyranny of small numbers which is now being advanced. But it will also depend on the turnout. If, for example, William Ruto's strongholds will turn out in large numbers and the mountain will not see the need of turning up to vote because Raila is not on the ballot, then they'll be okay. And lastly, there's also the fear of the Linda ground, which William Ruto is dealing with. If Linda ground is moving this direction, these guys moving this direction, then at an appropriate time, they converge together. That's going to be very difficult for the team. That's going to be very difficult for Ruto to defeat the team. I don't know what you think. That's my take. Until next time, this is Makwiny. Bye-bye.